Back.
We are back, and we're with a new book.
Drink the tea. In Plain Sight.
It's a picture book.
It's written by Richard Jackson and illustrated by the inimitable Jerry Pinkney. And this book involves a little girl named Sophie and her relationship with her grandfather and a game they play. It was written in 2016, published by Roaring Brook Press, and we love this book.
We do, for many reasons. Can we show them the secret reason?
What's the secret?
Okay, this is the secret. I love this part. So if you take off the dust jacket, voila!
One of the secret joys when you're involved with children's books is one of the first things you do is you take off the dust jacket and see if there's any treasures hidden on the cover. Now, many times there's not, and it takes extra expense and effort to do this, but it's such a treat when the publishers put something lovely under there.
It is. It made me very excited.
And the game that is played between Sophie and her grandpa is a kind of I Spy game, and the person who is reading this book can turn this cover into a kind of its own I Spy game for the listener by selecting something off the cover and trying to find it inside the story, which I think is splendid.
That's a great idea.
This is why I get.
This is why she gets the big bucks and I don't. If you believe that, I'll sell you a Bridge of Manhattan.
I don't think I get the big bucks. First of all, Jerry Pinkney's art is brilliant. It suits the story to a T. It's vivid. It's detailed. It really lets you know who Sophie is and who Grandpa is. It's just beautiful. I really also loved Grandpa's language in the book. He uses sound words. He uses really carefully selected words. And so he grabs her with, look for a rubber band. Boing. He uses the word boing.
That's a cool word. Boing. Boing, 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 boing. So some of my favorite parts about this book are the relationship between Sophie and Grandpa. I was very close to my grandfather, and it's a relationship that I still treasure today, even though he's been gone for a long time. So I got a big kick out of this, that every day Sophie comes home and plays this game with Grandpa. It closes the generation gap.
Yeah.
In a really nice way, I think. It also shows Sophie more about her grandfather because of the things he picks to hide stuff in.
He picks really small everyday objects like paper clips and rubber bands, but he hides them in his room. And since he's in a wheelchair, he's in his room a lot. He doesn't have a lot of mobility. And so he picks things in the room that are resonant with him, that have something to do with things he likes, pieces of his history.
Some of the FYIs I have about this book is, it's actually really hard to find a couple of the things. I was looking and I had no idea. And number two, to be really honest, I had to read a review or two before I understood the meaning of some of the objects that Grandpa was hiding the paperclip or the rubber band on, and that this was his way of giving us and Sophie clues about his past or things that were important to him.
I agree with Andy that some of the objects were hard to find. And it's simply, the nature of, this beautiful, detailed artwork, and the objects were small. And of course, it's intentional. You get that sense if you look for it, and then you find it. With that in mind, I would encourage any educators, librarians, or parents who are going to read this book, take a moment to read it through yourself and note where the objects are, so if the young person who's listening needs some help or hint, you will be ready and not also searching and get frustrated, things like that. It's a really rich experience if you take the time to dig into it. So again, that's also the adult prep, the reader prep, is to kind of really think about things you can talk about with your young person or your young people. And if you're a teacher, you can get a really good discussion going. This would be a good book if you're talking about, children's families or Grandparents' Day. So what does this have to do with acceptance? A whole lot, as it turns out. Namely,
what's wonderful about this book is it shows intergenerational acceptance. It shows that Grandpa, who comes from whose past, whose life is Sophie's history or things she'll learn in history class, can come together. They can bridge, in this case, 2 generations, and through games and through playing, accept each other. It also shows Sophie accepting that Grandpa has limitations, and so she's actually very happy to go look for his missing thing.
Most importantly, it gives you a really good sense of how different generations can play together. Not everything is heavy. Not everything is, back when I was a kid. It's just, and Grandpa's brilliant. He does it indirectly through this game. And as Sophie gets older, she's going to look at the same objects that she found rubber bands on. She's going to ask the questions and learn the story behind them. Brilliant book. So glad it was recommended to us.
Use it to maybe create some of your own games with each other.
Yeah.
And it could be, hide and seek games, and maybe it'll make you think of other games.
Absolutely beautiful book. Let me show you what the name is again. There it is.
In Plain Sight. Although, yes, not everything is in plain sight.
My friends, read the book, enjoy it, play some games, and remember,
Choose acceptance.
Boom.